People of the Northern Territory and Christmas
Thank you,
Island.
Senator McCarthy. It being 2 p.m, I call Senator Wong.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Minister for Defence, Senator Reynolds. Under the guidelines for special purpose aircraft flights, otherwise known as the VIP flights, the minister is required to table schedules every 6 months. Under this government, it has routinely been tabled late. 2 weeks ago, the Senate ordered the Minister for Defence to table the schedule for VIP flights for the period ending June 2019. Why is this minister continuing to disregard that order?
The Minister for Defence, Senator Reynolds.
Thank you very much, Mr President, and I thank Senator Wong for that question. In short, the government is not disregarding that order.
Order. Senator Wong, a supplementary question.
At the last Senate estimates in October, the Department of Defence revealed that this minister had sat on the most recent schedule for 71 days. So, can the minister advise the Senate on what date the Department of Defence provided her with the schedule for the period ending 30th of June 2019? How long has she been sitting on it this time?
Senator Reynolds.
Senator Wong, thank you very much. I don't have those dates with me, but I'll take it on notice and get back to you as soon as I can. But I can assure Senator Wong and the Senate, Mr President, that I completely reject her suggestion that I've been sitting on it. Senator Wong is well aware of the time frame and the processes, and that was followed to the word by myself. But I will get— no, it is not Senator Wong. Senator Wong, I will get the dates. Senator Wong, I will get the dates for you and come back to you as soon as possible.
Senator Wong, final supplementary question.
Can the minister give an undertaking that she will ensure that this schedule, which is already delayed, is tabled prior to the estimates? If not, can she please advise the Senate what it is in that schedule that the government doesn't want the public to know?
Senator Reynolds.
Senator Wong, yes, I can confirm that it will be tabled before estimates, and again, I categorically reject the categorisation of this process.
Order. Senator Fawcett. Order. Senator Fawcett. Order. Order. Well, the microphones still work. Senator Fawcett is on his feet. Senator Fawcett.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Health, Senator Cash. Minister, could you update the Senate on what actions the Morrison government is taking to keep Australians safe and to protect Australians from the global challenge of coronavirus?
The Minister representing the Minister for Health, Senator Cash.
Thank you, Mr President, and I thank Senator Fawcett for the question. Mr President, I am advised that the number of diagnosed cases of coronavirus has now exceeded 80,000. Just over 2,750 people have now lost their lives due to the coronavirus. In terms of the 80,000, the majority have been reported from mainland China, with 2,752 cases reported from 39 countries and regions outside of mainland China. The situation globally has seen significant jumps in Japan, South Korea, Iran and parts of northern Italy, with Austria, Switzerland and Croatia reporting their first confirmed cases. 25% of all reported cases outside of mainland China are associated with the Diamond Princess cruise ship, while 36% are from South Korea. As the Prime Minister and the Minister for Health have stated, Australia is not immune to the coronavirus and its impacts, but we are as best prepared as any country can be in the world today. The government's decisions from the outset have been to exercise an abundance of caution. That continues, and we are not complacent going forward. The government is working constantly to keep Australians safe. That is our #1 priority. On the 21st of January, the Chief Medical Officer made the decision to declare coronavirus a disease of pandemic potential. This triggered a series of actions in Australia: the standing up of the National Incident Centre, the standing up of the National Medical Stockpile, the readiness and activation of the National Trauma Centre, daily meetings of the Australian Health Protection Principal Committee and meetings of state, territory and Commonwealth health ministers to discuss pandemic readiness.
Senator Fawcett, a supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. Minister, could you update the Senate on the status of those Australians who have been diagnosed with the coronavirus?
Senator Cash.
Thank you, Mr President. 23 cases of what is being referred to now as COVID-19 have been confirmed in Australia. There are 15 cases which have been identified in general population. All 15 of those cases have now been cleared and discharged from hospital. This is a positive step and a positive reflection on the Australian health and medical services system. 8 cases have been diagnosed associated with the Diamond Princess repatriation flight from Japan. The cases are residents of Western Australia, South Australia, Queensland and Victoria. All of these cases have been repatriated to their home states for isolation and care. The most recent case confirmed overnight is noted to be the partner of a recently repatriated Diamond Princess case. The case is receiving care in isolation in Victoria.
Senator Fawcett, a final supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. Can the minister outline to the Senate how the government is helping Australians through this crisis by containing the threat and providing Australians with the support they need?
Senator Cash.
Mr President, again, as the Prime Minister and the Minister for Health state, our priority is to keep Australians safe. The Prime Minister said there's a global virus and we're seeking to contain the virus. And unfortunately, there will be instances where there will be inconveniences for those who would have been in transit and who have been travelling. That's regrettable, but you have to put Australia's national interest first. We will continue implementing border measures to screen passengers on flights and vessels from mainland China, and for people who have been in or transited through mainland China in the past 14 days. These measures are all kept under regular review. We will also continue to work in close cooperation with state and territory government authorities and our international partners. The government can reassure Australians that our nation is well equipped and prepared for this global health challenge.
Senator Farrell.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Minister for Youth and Sport, Senator Colbeck. In response to the Senate order for production of documents number 387 regarding the colour-coded spreadsheet, this one here, the minister, that one. The minister, lift it up. The minister tabled a heavily redacted document, preventing projects from being identified and the government's decisions to be appropriately scrutinised by the parliament. What is the basis for the minister's claim of public interest immunity on this redacted information?
The Minister for Youth and Sport, Senator Colbeck.
Mr President, thanks Senator Farrell for the question. The reason for the redaction?
Order. Order on my left. Senator Colbeck needs to be given an opportunity to answer the question. Senator Colbeck.
Thank you, Mr President. The answer to that is in the letter I presented to the Parliament.
Senator, order. Senator Farrell, a supplementary question.
What are you hiding?
Thank you, Mr President. Can the minister explain how it is in the public interest to redact not only the identity of unsuccessful applications to this program, but the details of projects that we're seeking to fund? What does the minister not want the Australian public to know?
Senator Colbeck.
Thank you, Mr President. Thank you, Mr President. I refer the senator to my previous answer.
Senator Farrell, a final supplementary question.
Yes.
Order on my left.
Yes, I do.
Senator Farrell is on his feet.
Yes. Thank you, Mr President. I do have a further question. What discussions did the minister have with the Prime Minister or his office prior to claiming public interest immunity?
Senator Colbeck.
Mr President, I consulted with a number of colleagues' offices with respect to the tabling of those documents as appropriate, because some of those the documents that were tabled had—
Order. Senator Colbeck. Senator Wong on a point of order.
Point of order, direct relevance. The question is specifically about conversations with the Prime Minister and his office.
The minister has been speaking for 11 seconds. He was talking about his discussions with other ministerial officers. I'm not going to say that is not directly relevant because he has only been speaking for 11 seconds. The minister to continue.
But it was a comprehensive answer.
Senator Colbeck, you're free to continue.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I was saying, I consulted with a number of colleagues' officers in the preparation of the documents for the return to order, for the order for production of documents, because the documents and the order for production of documents related to a number of colleagues' officers, including the Prime Minister's.
The minister has concluded his answer, Senator Wong, so I will move to Senator Patterson.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Patterson.
Thank you, Mr. President. My question is to the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Senator Payne. Can the minister update the Senate on how Australia is joining with international partners to address the global challenge of malicious cyber behaviour and publicly attribute this activity?
The Minister for Foreign Affairs, Senator Payne.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I thank Senator Patterson for his very important question. The Australian government last week joined with international partners to condemn Russia's malicious cyber activity, which targeted the state of Georgia in October. The GRU, Russia's military intelligence service, carried out a series of disruptive cyber activities against a range of Georgian web hosting providers that resulted in defacement of several thousand websites. They included websites belonging to the government of Georgia, to the courts, the NGOs, to media and to business. The incidents that we, in an international alliance, have attributed to Russia have harmed Georgian citizens' ability to simply go about their lives, to have created insecurity within their country and undermined their democratic institutions. This follows public attributions that Australia and international partners have made to a range of malicious cyber behaviour previously by North Korea, by China and Iran. We believe in standing firmly with allies and partners to reject such conduct, which poses a clear threat to the international rules-based order and, frankly, to our own values. Countries, including Russia, have all given undertakings to act in accordance with international law and norms in cyberspace. Where it serves our national interest, we believe in calling out countries that fail to live up to this agreement. Doing so, in our view, helps to foster a safe and secure cyberspace. Collectively, with like-minded countries, we want to ensure that our citizens can participate in a cyberspace that is a dynamic engine of economic growth and innovation, not a vector of interference or sabotage.
Senator Patterson, a supplementary question.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Will the minister advise the Senate how making public attributions helps uphold norms in cyberspace and helps ensure an open, free and secure cyber domain?
Senator Payne.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is the Australian government's view that there must be consequences for malicious behaviour in cyberspace. Public attribution is but one tool to uncover the culpable state, removing that anonymity under which it hides to protect its malicious cyber conduct. We assess each incident, we calibrate our response accordingly, and our responses may include publicly or privately calling out unacceptable behaviour, but they can also include other measures. We'll ensure that our responses are proportionate, are compliant with domestic and international law, as well as with the norms of responsible state behaviour in cyberspace. We believe that the rules-based order must apply equally online as it does offline. As a responsible state committed to this principle, we must do our part to hold states accountable when they breach the agreed framework of responsible state behaviour in cyberspace.
Senator Patterson, a final supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the minister update the Senate on what else the Australian government is doing to promote an open, free and secure cyberspace?
Senator Payne.
Thank you, Mr. President, and again I thank Senator Patterson for his question. Australia is in the leadership of global efforts to ensure an open, free and secure cyberspace that protects national security and allows technology and connectivity to remain forces for good. At UN Leaders Week in New York, I co-sponsored with the United States and the Netherlands the joint statement on advancing responsible state behaviour in cyberspace. It's an important statement, and along with Australia's international cyber engagement strategy, it highlights Australia's role in promoting an open, free and secure cyberspace. That work has been led by Australia's Ambassador for Cyber Affairs, Dr Toby Feakin. Holding states appropriately accountable when they abuse the rules-based order is a vital constraint on the behaviour of those who would use cyberspace to destabilise democracies, to undermine institutions and to disrupt critical infrastructure.
Senator Patrick.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Health, Senator Cash, and refers to the Australian Health Sector Emergency Response Plan for COVID-19, which was endorsed by the Australian Health Protection Principal Committee on the 17th of February. Is it not the case that the plan discusses 3 scenarios for the impact of the virus in Australia, ranging from low to moderate and then high clinical severity, with the 3rd scenario comparable to the 1918 H1N1 Spanish flu? Doesn't the plan further advise that for the moderate and severe impact scenarios, new health emergency legislation may be needed to support outbreak response-specific activities? What new legislation is the government planning to introduce or to encourage states and territories to adopt to prepare for the possible widespread outbreak of COVID-19?
The Minister representing the Minister for Health, Senator Cash.
Thank you, Mr President, and I thank Senator Patrick for the question. And for some prior notice, Senator Patrick, I've been able to obtain the following information for you. The Australian Health Sector Emergency Response Plan for novel coronavirus is already being implemented and brings together the successful actions we've taken to date as a government to contain the virus. The plan is in response to the COVID-19 outbreak and is based on the Australian Health Management Plan for Pandemic Influenza, which has been in place for many years. The plan is the result of coordination, consultation and collaboration with the sector and with our state and territory colleagues. It also outlines clear responses and actions we can escalate should the risk increase. It ensures we target resources and public health interventions to most effectively protect the health of all Australians. To date, we have been able to contain the spread of the virus in Australia, and we will continue to do all we can to hold this position. But the COVID-19 outbreak could pose significant risk to Australia, to people's health and our economy. The response that we've had to date has been one based on the principle of precaution and minimising risk. We've been working closely across all levels of government, implementing strategies to minimise the spread of the disease through strong border measures and widespread communications activities. The plan we've released goes beyond what we're already doing and looks at what we now know about the COVID-19 and how we move forward as this outbreak unfolds. It will be updated as we learn more about the virus, its key risk groups and when potential treatments or vaccines become available. Australia's plan to manage the COVID-19 outbreak is based on these pillars. Monitor and investigate outbreaks as they occur, identify and characterise the nature of the virus and clinical severity of the disease, contribute to the rapid and confident recovery of individuals,
Senator
communities.
Cash, time for the answer has expired. Senator Patrick, a supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. Given that prudent planning requires timely action to prepare for a global pandemic scenario with severe impact in Australia, what new legislation and other measures will be put in place to ensure, if required, that there is effective social distancing, prioritisation of essential medical services, guarantees that in respect of national logistic and supply chains functioning effectively, and that vital goods and services remain available?
Order. Senator Cash.
Thank you, Mr President. Senator Patrick, the Australian Health Protection Principal Committee will advise on which activities to undertake and escalate this plan. This will be done in consultation with relevant parties and on advice from expert bodies. As the government has shown to date, we will continue to follow the expert advice. Communication is a priority under the plan to ensure the delivery of timely, accurate and comprehensive clinical information to health professionals and the broader community so that they can effectively manage patients, implement COVID-19 control measures and minimise their own risk of exposure. You can be assured that consistent with the plan, the Australian government, in collaboration with states and territories, are putting the planning for all scenarios, and we are communicating with the broader community and the private sector.
Senator Patrick, a final supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. Minister, can you assure the Senate that all necessary national health emergency legislation will be considered by the government and introduced into the parliament as a matter of priority, bearing in mind that only 4 sitting weeks for the House of Representatives and only 2 for the Senate are scheduled over the next 3 months?
Senator Cash.
Thank you, Mr President. As I have stated on a number of occasions now, the Australian government is well prepared and we will continue to follow the expert medical advice. You'd be aware that on the 21st of January 2020, the human coronavirus with pandemic potential was listed as a listed human disease under the relevant legislation, the Biosecurity Act 2015. What that did was enable the enhanced border measures. All states and territories themselves have powers to issue orders under public health legislation that include provision for detaining persons and enforcement of those orders in relation to notifiable conditions. Authorised public health officers may issue directions to an individual, but generally chief health officers or their equivalent must authorise orders for detention. And Senator Patrick, I do have further information which I will provide to you.
Senator Henderson.
Thank you very much, Mr President. My question is to the Minister for Defence, Senator Reynolds. Can the minister update the Senate on how the Morrison government is helping protect Australians and build a more resilient economy by continuing to strengthen Australia's defence capability?
The Minister for Defence, Senator Reynolds.
Thank you very much, Mr President, and I thank Senator Henderson for her question and for her fearless pursuit of defence industry and jobs in her state. This government is investing more than $200 billion to deliver more potent, agile and a capable ADF. The investment will ensure we maintain our capability edge and are prepared for a more contested geostrategic environment in the Indo-Pacific. This reinvestment is vital after years of cuts, delays and indecision under Labor, which included cutting defence funding to 1.56% of GDP, the lowest level since 1938. The Morrison government is getting on with the job of making considered investment choices based on capability requirements and emerging threats, as well as building a strong sovereign industrial base and creating jobs right across Australia. This financial year alone, we have invested $8.2 billion in crucial capabilities. We are moving ahead on the $90 billion naval shipbuilding plan. We are already building 57 naval vessels in Australia by Australian workers with Australian steel. Over $5 billion of investment in Army's next generation of logistic vehicle fleet has achieved initial operating capability and is ready for training and major exercises. And in fact, the fleet did an extraordinary job for our nation on Operation Bushfire Assist. And under our $18 billion commitment to deliver the next generation of airstrike capability, we welcomed another 7 F-35s to Australia in December last year, bringing the total here to Australia to 13. The Morrison government is ensuring the men and women of the Australian Defence Force have the equipment and capability they need to fight and win.
Senator Henderson, a supplementary question.
Can the minister update the Senate on how this progress in our defence programs is creating jobs for Australia and supporting Australian defence industry, particularly in my home state of Victoria?
Senator Reynolds.
Thank you very much, Mr President. Key to the successful delivery of defence capability is our partnership with Australian defence industry. This is truly a national endeavour. There are thousands of companies right across Australia involved in defence projects and supply chains that are supporting hundreds of thousands of Australian jobs. It is this government that is ensuring that Australian industry involvement is maximised in all defence programs to build a sovereign industrial base that supports Australian jobs. In Victoria, for example, Universal Motion Simulator in Geelong was awarded a $21.4 million contract for sustainment of 6 training simulators for the Boxer combat reconnaissance vehicle. Over 50 Australian companies have contracts already supplying the global supply chain for the F-35, including 17 in Victoria. Senator Henderson.
Order. Senator Reynolds. Time for the answers expired. Senator Henderson, a final supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. Can the minister advise how the self-propelled howitzer program will deliver necessary capability and create jobs for Australians, particularly in my home state of Victoria? And is the minister aware of any threats to this vital project?
Before I call Senator Reynolds, I am having trouble hearing with the level of murmuring in the chamber. Order. Senator, I'll call. We're wasting time for the opposition in question time. I'll call Senator Reynolds when there's silence. Senator Reynolds.
Thank you, Mr President. And Senator Henderson, yes, there is a threat to this project. Labor and the member for Corio himself,
Senator Cormann on a point of order. Order, Senator Reynolds. Senator Cormann on a point of order.
Interjections are disorderly, and within seconds of you making your ruling, the opposition interjected again. I asked you to call them to order.
Interjections are always disorderly. I would ask people that when I call for silence, I'm going to go back to the rule where I ask people to count to 10 before they start interjecting again. Order. I'm sure you can count, Senator Farrell. I'll take that interjection. Senator Reynolds to continue.
Don's the only one that can really count.
Thank you very much, Mr President. And it's no surprise that Labor doesn't want to hear the answer to this, because the only threat to this project is the member for Corio himself, Richard Marles. It is deeply disappointing that the Shadow Minister for Defence himself, whose seat is in the heart of Geelong, continues to talk down Geelong's ability to support this project. The Morrison government is extremely proud of our commitment to build and sustain 30 self-propelled howitzers in Geelong, providing vital army capability and delivering up to 350 jobs. This project is fully funded and is now underway. Mr Marles represents an electorate with one of the highest unemployment rates in this country, yet he continues to talk down this important project for army capability, which will also deliver jobs for Geelong. The people of Geelong deserve so much better.
Senator Reynolds. Senator Rice.
Thanks, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for the Environment, Senator Cormann. This summer's devastating bushfires have seen more than 20% of Australia's mainland forests burnt. And research just published in Nature Climate Change showed that this massive proportion of the forest estate being burnt is unprecedented in any fire season, either in Australia or globally, in the last 20 years. Over 5 times the average amount of forest burnt in other extreme seasons anywhere in the world, and the fires are still burning. What action is the government taking to make sure that our fires can recover, and how will they make sure that our forests can recover, and how will they assure Australia's children that they are taking action to put the future of our forests, carbon stores and wildlife first?
The Minister representing the Minister for the Environment, Senator Cormann.
Thank you very much, Mr President. Let me reassure Senator Rice and the Senate that our forests will recover. Our forests will recover. Through the history of Australia, over thousands and thousands of years, we have experienced bushfires before, and our beautiful continent, of course, has regenerated before, and very, very strongly. So we have, of course, experienced a devastating bushfire season in this last couple of months. No question, devastating, and a whole series of communities across rural and regional Australia in particular was terribly impacted. And we are providing significant supports. We have provided significant support and continue to provide significant support to support those communities with the post-bushfire recovery. And as part of our $2 billion bushfire recovery fund, we're also investing, of course, in a series of environmental measures to help boost and facilitate that rapid regeneration, both in terms of our fauna and our flora. In terms of the broader issue that Senator Rice raises, of course we are doing everything we can to protect our environment, to help reduce global emissions and to do so in a way that is economically responsible, because of course we want to ensure that our children and grandchildren in the future can continue to enjoy the beautiful country that is ours, but also can continue to pursue the opportunities to have a job, to pursue a career, to have a better job, to build a life for themselves and for their families into the future. That is what we will continue to do, and we will continue to do it responsibly and with great commitment and dedication.
Senator Rice, a supplementary question.
Thanks, President. The unprecedented burning that's occurred this fire season has been with only 1 degree of global heating. Yet this government's feeble climate policy has us on track for 3.4 degrees of global heating by the end of the century. How does our government expect that our forests and indeed our timber plantations are going to survive that? What does a planet that is 3.4 degrees hotter mean for smoke choking our cities, water from forested catchments, endangered animals and indeed
Senator Rice,
for the future?
time for the question has expired. Senator Cormann.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I have made this point on a number of occasions now. Our government is committed to effective action on climate change. But we also understand that in order to address the challenge of climate change, and in order to secure meaningful reductions in global greenhouse gas emissions, we need a global effort to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And what would not help the environment is if Australia took measures domestically in Australia, which would just shift emissions with jobs and economic activity overseas, where for the same level of economic output emissions would be higher. That would actually leave the global environment worse off. And we are not in favour of imposing sacrifice on the Australian people that not only makes no difference to the environment, but actually would make the situation worse when it comes to addressing climate change and reducing global greenhouse gas emissions. So we will continue to pursue—
Order, Senator Cormann. Time for the answers expired. Senator Rice, a final supplementary question.
Thanks, President. The government so far has been sticking to our last century's outdated logging laws, the regional forest agreements, which continue business as usual, even though more than 20% of our forests have been burnt this summer. How is the government taking into account the massive impact of this summer's fires on our native forests? How can any logging of our native forests be justified, given the massive hit that our forests and our wildlife have taken?
Senator Cormann.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Well, when it comes to this very important economic activity in our forests, we are guided by the science. We're guided by the science. And we're not going to be guided by ideology. We're not going to be guided by religion. We're going to be guided by the science. And we will continue to make decisions to protect our environment in a way that is economically responsible. And of course, regional forest agreements are a very important part of that framework based on science.
Before I come to you, Senator O'Sullivan, I think it is former Senator Edwards, Sean Edwards, in the gallery. Welcome back to the Senate. Former Senator Edwards. Senator O'Sullivan.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for National Disability Insurance Scheme, Senator Ruston. Can the Minister update the Senate on the rollout of the NDIS and how the Morrison government is helping and supporting Australians with a disability?
The Minister representing the Minister for the National Disability Insurance Scheme, Senator Ruston.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and I thank Senator O'Sullivan for his question on this really important issue. And I can assure this chamber that the Morrison government is absolutely committed to finalising the rollout of the National Disability Insurance Scheme and making sure that we set it up for an absolutely successful future from now on. Really pleased to be able to advise the chamber that nearly 339,000 Australians who live with disability are now on benefiting from a plan with the National Disability Insurance Scheme. But most importantly, of that number, nearly 135,000 of those people are actually receiving disability supports for the first time. These are people who have never received supports before, and that's nearly 40% of the number of the people that are on the scheme. But also of particular importance is that the scheme continues to increase the number of children that it's supporting. 35% of new participants onto the NDIS in the last quarter of 2019 were in the age group of 0 to 6 years of age. That means that more than 50,000 young Australians aged between birth and 6 years old are now in the NDIS. Earlier this month, Minister Robert released the new data that showed the backlog of accessing early childhood interventions had actually been significantly slashed over the last 6 months. On the 31st of December last year, on average, for children aged 0 to 6 to meet NDIS access requirements is down now to less than 3 days. That's down from 43 days earlier in the year. For children currently awaiting a plan, it's now 44 days, down from 104. And children meeting NDIS access to receiving an NDIS-approved plan is now 54 days instead of 129. So the backlog
Order,
of children—
Senator Ruston. Senator O'Sullivan, a supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. Minister, how is the government ensuring the disability sector continues to thrive and support all people with disability?
Senator Ruston.
Thank you very much, Mr President. Well, the Morrison government is absolutely committed to working with Australians with disability to remove as many barriers as we possibly can, which may impede them from reaching their full potential. Because absolutely everybody in this country, whether you've got a disability or not, should be able to be afforded the same opportunity to play a meaningful role in our community. Recently, Minister Robert actually announced a further $67.8 million worth of grants for the National Disability Insurance Agency for the Information Linkages and Capacity Building program. These grants will go to supporting people around Australia, to support them to connect with their communities, to gain employment if that's what they wish to do, and access the kind of health services that fit their individual requirements. We know these are issues that are absolutely vital to all Australians, but particularly they are important for people with disability being able to reach their goals.
Senator O'Sullivan, a final supplementary question.
Thank you. Can the minister explain why it's so important to put people with disability, their families and carers first?
Senator Ruston.
Thank you very much, Mr President. It is absolutely essential that we as a government back Australians with disabilities, their families and their carers. Because, as I said, we want every Australian to have the opportunity to reach their full potential, whatever that may be. And we understand that the aspiration to participate fully, whether it be in social or the economic life of our nation, is something that people with disability value as much, if not more, than the able-bodied population. This reform, the NDIS, is a world first. It's a once-in-a-generation reform. I don't think since Medicare have we seen a social reform of this kind of magnitude. And we will continue to work with Australians with disability to make sure that business as usual, that they are able to undertake the kind of employment and activities in our communities, and we will continue to support them through the National Disability Insurance Scheme so that they can live their best lives.
Senator Wong.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Cormann. The Prime Minister has claimed his office's only involvement in the Sports Rorts scheme was to pass along information. So why has the Audit Office told the Senate today there were 136 emails about the scheme going back and forth between the Prime Minister's office and Senator Mackenzie's office in just 6 months?
The Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Cormann.
Thank you very much, Mr President. I thank Senator Wong for that question. That is entirely consistent with the Prime Minister's statements.
Order. Senator Wong, a supplementary question.
Thank you. I have a supplementary. The Auditor-General's responses today state that the colour-coded spreadsheet focusing on marginal and target seats shared on 4 occasions with the Prime Minister's office input on which applications should be awarded funding. Will the Prime Minister now admit his office was involved in the selection of winners?
Senator Cormann.
Thank you very much, Mr President. What is very clear is that the Prime Minister, as he has said, and the Prime Minister's office made representations in relation to specific projects, and the final decision maker was the Minister for Sport. What I would also say, what I would also remind the Chamber of, is that as a result of the Minister making decisions to more fairly spread the grants geographically across sports, indeed, as a result of the Minister's decisions, the proportion of projects going into Labour seats increased from 26% to about 35%, because the independent recommendations from Sports Australia actually would have inappropriately, in the minister's judgment, would have inappropriately disadvantaged Labor electorates, and so in exercising her discretion, making sure that all of the sports were appropriately supported and that the funding was allocated.
Order, Senator Cormann. Senator Wong, a final supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President.
Order.
Given that the Auditor-General's responses demonstrate the deep involvement of Mr Morrison and his office in this Sports Rorts program, can the minister explain why Mr Morrison continues to mislead Australians about his role and the role of his office in the Sports Rorts scandal?
Senator Cormann.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I completely and utterly reject the premise of the question. The Sports Grants Program is a highly successful, very popular program, which obviously, like many programs, was oversubscribed.
Order.
And the recommendations that came from Sports Australia were recommendations which, for good reason, the minister made decisions to adjust in order to ensure there was a fairer, better, more appropriate spread, including making sure that more projects in Labor electorates were supported rather than as was initially recommended. And there is the Prime Minister has been very clear. The Prime Minister has been very clear in describing his involvement and his office's involvement, and we stand by the Prime Minister's statements.
Order. Before I come to you, Senator Stoker, if I could draw to the attention of honourable senators the presence in the chamber and the gallery of a delegation from the German Bundestag led by the Vice President, Mr Wolfgang Kubicki. On behalf of all senators, I wish you a warm welcome to Australia and particularly to the Senate this afternoon. Senator Stoker.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Minister for Aged Care and Senior Australians, Senator Colbeck. Dementia is one of this country's greatest health challenges, and it touches almost all families in one way or another. Can the minister please update the Senate on the way that the Morrison government is helping and supporting Australians who are living with dementia and who are dealing with it in their families?
The Minister for Aged Care and Senior Australians, Senator Colbeck.
Thank you, Mr President. Thank you, Senator Stoker, for the question. Mr President, dementia is the second leading cause of death in Australia, and it's a significant issue for many families, as Senator Stoker has just said. And we are delivering on commitments that we've made to the Australian community to better support people living with dementia. Mr President, in 2019-20, the government will provide in excess of $68 million for dementia-specific support and training programs that will benefit people living with dementia, their carers, service providers. This includes $17.41 million for the Dementia Behaviour Management Advisory Service, $16.6 million for the Severe Behaviour Response Teams, $11.59 million for the Dementia Training Support Program, $8.32 million for the Specialist Dementia Care Program, $13.9 million for the National Dementia Support Program, and $1.2 million for dementia-friendly communities. Mr President, the $68 million also includes new funding of $10 million from 2019-20 to 2021 to increase dementia training and support for aged care workers and health sector staff, as announced by the government in November of last year. This investment will deliver on additional face-to-face and teleconference interventions to address the behavioural symptoms of dementia, as well as training for health and aged care providers through the expansion of the Dementia Behaviour Management Advisory Service, the Severe Dementia Response Teams and training programs. Mr President, at full rollout, the Australian government will provide $70 million per year for the Specialist Dementia Care Program, and the program will...
Senator Colbeck. Senator Stoker, a supplementary question.
Can the minister please outline what additional measures the government is taking to invest in research to help to treat and find a cure for dementia?
Senator Colbeck.
Thank you, Mr President. And this is a very important question. And at the last Dementia Australia event held in the Parliament, with the support of Senator Polley as one of the co-chairs, we heard the voices of a number of people with dementia and the expression of their desire to see a cure for dementia. When we came to government in 2013, we made a significant investment of $200 million towards dementia research, Mr. President, and subsequently we made another investment of $185 million over 10 years through the Dementia Ageing and Aged Care 10-year mission funded from the Medical Research Fund. Mr. President, as we all understand, dementia is a significant issue for Australians, and we're determined to do what we can to assist to find a cure.
Senator Stoker, a final supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr. President. How is the Morrison government investing in aged care to ensure senior Australians are supported, and is the minister aware of any alternative approaches to dealing with this issue?
Senator Colbeck.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. As I indicated to the chamber yesterday, when we came to government, investment into the aged care system was about $13.3 billion. This year, it will be a record of $21.4 billion. Mr. President, but what we see from the other side has been absolutely no commitment to investment in aged care, zero investment in the last election campaign for home care packages, zero investment into workforce, and unfortunately zero investment into improving capacity in the mainstream residential aged care sector. What they did promise, Mr. President, what they did promise was $387 billion in additional taxes on the Australian economy. But of that $387 billion in additional taxes, they could not find 1 cent, not 1 cent, for home care packages or mainstream aged care.
Order. 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 Senator Polley. Sorry? Senator Polley. Order. I'm calling a member of the opposition. Senator Wong. Order.
Well,
on my right
how do you
now.
reduce it?
This
Why
is
don't you
inappropriate to be interjecting across the central table. Senator Polley. Order. Order. Senator Wong. Senator Wong, please. Senator Cormann.
Not only in breach of standing orders, but extremely discourteous, so I ask you to call Senator Wong to order.
Senator Polley.
My question is to the Minister for Aged Care and Senior Australians, Senator Colbeck. When asked during question time about the Morrison government's plans to put ACAT out to tender, the minister said that it was, and I quote, actually implementing a recommendation from the Tune Review. Now that the minister's had time to consider that answer, can the minister confirm the Tune Review makes no recommendation that ACAT services be contracted out?
The Minister for Aged Care, Senator Colbeck.
Mr. President, what the government's intention to do with respect to ACAT and RAS services, the assessment teams for the aged care sector, is to do what the Tune recommended to do, which is to bring together a single assessment workforce. That's what the government's intention to do. The government has never said, as the opposition continues to dishonestly claim, that we were going to privatise. We've never said that. And I've reiterated that in the chamber a number of times. The government's reiterated that a number of the times in the statements is made to the multitude of dishonest motions that the opposition has brought forward. We have never said that we wanted to privatise the assessment service, but what we want to do is to do what Tune said. What we've said is what Tune said is to bring together a single assessment workforce. And further, Mr. President, the Royal Commission said that that was an urgent reform. So, Mr. President, they said that—
Order. Senator Colbeck, please. I can't hear the minister's answer. We're wasting time in question time, which is normally considered to be a time for the non-government parties. I'm going to ask that people at least take a breath after I call the Senate to order. There's an opportunity after question time to debate answers. Senator Colbeck to continue.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we will continue to work with the states, cooperatively with the states, to bring together a single assessment workforce for the aged care sector across Australia. That is our determination. That is what we think will provide better service for senior Australians, because currently within the assessment process there are a number of issues. There are duplications that exist within the system that need to be resolved. There are people who indicate that they require palliative care services that aren't getting the referrals they need. And unfortunately, Mr President, as the Royal Commission indicated, there are young people being referred to aged care by state government ACAT systems that shouldn't be referred to aged care. The system needs to be resolved, and that is the government's determination.
Senator Polley, a supplementary question.
President, my supplementary question. Mr Russell Broadbent MP said in the House of Representatives yesterday that he had read the Tune Review's recommendations on ACAT, saying, and I quote, "It doesn't say that this area should be contracted out." Is the minister's Liberal colleague correct?
Senator Colbeck.
Thank you, Mr President. Well, Mr President, Senator Polley demonstrates her lack of understanding of the way that the system currently works, because—
Order. Senator Wong. Senator Wong, on a point of order.
Point of order, direct relevance. This minister, instead of misleading or engaging immediately in attack on the questioner, should do his job and answer the question.
Senator Wong.
The direct relevance was Mr Broadbent's quote, which is a direct contradiction of the minister. We're asking the minister to explain.
Senator Cormann, on the point of order.
The minister is being directly relevant, of course, because if I—
Order. Can I hear the minister? Senator Wong, your point of order was heard in silence. I'd like to hear Senator Cormann's response.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. The minister was being directly relevant because he's explaining, he was about to explain how the system currently works, and indeed,
Senator Watt.
It is actually not working the way Senator Polley has repeatedly asserted and the way other Labor members have previously asserted.
And Senator Wong, I'm going to respectfully disagree with both of you in that after speaking for 7 seconds and not having got to a punctuation mark in his first sentence, I am incapable of ruling on whether an answer is directly relevant. Senator Colbeck to continue.
Thank you, Mr President. Thank you, Mr
Order
President.
On my left.
I reject the assertion that Senator Polley has made with respect to contracting out the service, because as things currently stand, Mr President, the Commonwealth does not deliver any services. We contract to the states for ACAT services, and we contract to the RASs.
Senator
for
Colbeck, I have Senator
assessments.
Polley on a point of order. Senator Polley on a point of order.
Yes. It's
Order on Senator Wong. I have Senator Polley on her feet.
It's on relevance, Mr President. Was Mr Broadbent correct? He has actually read the Tune Review.
Senator Polley, that's going to the substance of your question. You've made a point of order on direct relevance. I'll hear from Senator Cormann.
Thank you very much, Mr President. Minister Colbeck is clearly being directly relevant. He's at pains to explain why the premise of the question, which somehow seems to suggest that there is a plan for privatisation, is incorrect, and how we are implementing the Tune Review recommendations is being directly relevant to the subject matter raised.
Order. On the point of order, the minister is being directly relevant. He is dealing with, in my notes, directly dealing with the quotation that was used in the question. Your point of order, Senator Polley, goes to a preferred or method of answer, which is not a matter for the chair. The minister is addressing the quotation in the question, in my view. Senator Wong?
On a different point of order, and I accept that ruling, my point of order also goes to direct relevance. The quote is Mr Broadbent's, not Senator Polley's. So it is not in order for the minister to assert that Senator Polley's position is correct and is incorrect.
Senator Cormann, on the point of order.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. The minister is, of course, being directly relevant because he is explaining why the misrepresentations have been made by Labor and which may have been taken on board by a member in the other place are inaccurate.
Order. Senator Wong, with respect, I'm listening very carefully to the minister's answer. I'm not convinced that is a characterisation of what he was doing. If he was, I would also be of the view that is a matter for debating the merits of answers after question time. Senator Colbeck to continue.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I was saying, the Tune Review recommended bringing together a seamless workforce, and in fact the Tune Review says it should be a priority to combine the RAS and ACAT assessment workforces. That is what the government is determined to do, Mr. President. And I have had a very amiable conversation with Mr. Broadbent, and we agree on the outcomes
Senator
of the
Colbeck.
process.
Senator Polley, a final supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Given the minister can't even convince his own Liberal colleagues, will the minister now correct the record?
Senator Colbeck.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Broadbent and I, as I just said, have had a very amiable conversation with respect to his views and what the government would like to see. And it's as I've been saying ad nauseum for a period of time. We want to bring together the ACAT and the RAS services as recommended by the Tune Review. They say to bring together and create a single assessment workforce. Mr. Broadbent agrees with me that that's what should happen. He wants to see, like the rest of the government wants to see, is senior Australians getting access to the best possible assessment service.
Order on my left. Senator Colbeck.
The best possible assessment service through a process that doesn't provide repetition. It provides them with timely assessments, which is not happening now. It provides with them similar experience across the country, and reform is required in this space.
Senator McMahon.
Thank you, Mr. President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Regional Health, Regional Communications and Local Government, Senator Cash. Can the Minister update the Senate on how the coalition government is helping Australians living in rural and regional communities by creating additional training places for more rural generalist doctors?
Senator Cash.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I thank Senator McMahon for what is an incredibly important question, but I also acknowledge the great work that you have done over a very long period of time in ensuring that rural and regional Australians get the services that they need. Mr. President, the Morrison government, we are committed to continually improving rural health services and regional health services. This is because we recognise regional, rural and remote Australians, they deserve the same access to high-quality health services as those who live in our cities. Mr. President, research actually shows that doctors who train in the bush are more likely to stay and work in the bush at the completion of their training. And that is why, as a government, we're focused on addressing the maldistribution of doctors in the bush. Earlier this month, the government announced the allocation, Senator McMahon, of 100 additional training places to the Australian College of Rural and Remote Medicine to train more rural generalists.
Senator Pratt,
Mr.
take
President,
a breath. Order.
This is because
Senator
rural
Cash, please
generalists
resume your seat. I'm getting sick of people not even taking note of me calling them to silence for 10 seconds. Senator Cash to continue.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I say rural generalists play a key role in enabling rural and remote Australians to access health services. Why? Because they provide the general practice, emergency care and other specialist services in hospitals and communities. Mr. President, this announcement yet again demonstrates the Australian government's commitment to supporting more regional doctor training, to support better care yet again and deliver better healthcare outcomes for rural, regional and remote communities. Mr. President, we also need to ensure, though, that we actually address the pipeline of rural generalists who are coming through to support a viable and sustainable workforce. And we're also doing that as part of our $500 million Stronger Rural Health Strategy.
Order. Senator McMahon, a supplementary question.
Minister Cash, what additional incentives has the government put in place to attract and retain rural health professionals?
Senator Cash.
Mr President, we're also investing to enable medical professionals to train in regional areas. This is by expanding the existing junior doctor training program, and we're now including rural interns and doctors in their second year of postgraduate training. Senator McMahon, by the end of this year, the Rural Junior Doctor Training Innovation Fund will have funded almost 600 rotations in rural primary care settings. Mr President, the government has announced 100 new rotations will be allocated to second-year postgraduate doctors across Australia, and this is at a total investment of $3.2 million. These are separate to the rotations that will be rolled out as part of the National Rural Generalist Pathway, and is in addition to the $20.6 million we've invested for rural-based interns to rotate through a primary care setting.
Senator McMahon, a final supplementary question.
Minister, why is it important to maintain a consistent policy approach to supporting our regional communities, and what are the consequences of other approaches?
Senator Cash.
Well, Mr President, everything I have outlined, the investment that the government is making to ensure that rural, regional and remote Australians have the same level of health care as those of us who are able to live in metropolitan centres, it is only because we manage a strong economy. It is only because we understand fiscal responsibility. If you look at what occurred when those opposite the Labor Party were last in government, as we saw as a direct consequence of their failure to manage the budget, there was a direct impact on Australia's health system. This impact, of course, directly affects Australians. What Labor did was they actually stopped listing life-saving drugs on the PBS. Why? Because they ran out of money. Mr President, the coalition government, the Morrison government, we understand the benefits of a strong economy and being able to invest in rural, regional and
Senator
remote
Cash.
health.
Senator Cormann.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that further questions be placed on the notice paper.